You've probably heard of the MBTI test, that mysterious quiz that claims to reveal who you truly are. But have you ever taken it yourself? Do you believe it? Across the world, millions have taken the MBTI test in search of self-understanding. What they found, however, often says more about belief than about psychology. In 1942, the first scale said hello to all the organisms on Earth. With the development of the internet, the MBTI is like a vaccine that was injected into people's field of vision. Today, some companies choose employees based on the outcome of their MBTI. Some people are having discussions based on their MBTI too. Perhaps the next year, the plants too will find their identities through the MBTI. But why are more and more people beginning to see MBTI as a law of nature itself? Dr. Carol Tapson and his team are probably lifting the veil on the many dimensions within us.
People instinctively reach for anything that promises order. So psychologists call this illusion of control. It means belief that we can manage uncertainties with simple explanations. And during times of rising unemployment, the MBTI becomes one of society's favorite illusions. So there's a 5-year longitudinal research compared these axes of employment rates with the proportion of people who are superstitious about the MBTI in this axis from 2020 to 2024. And the finding was strict. In years when unemployment increases, the people's number of who believe in MBTI goes as well. So as country people felt over their environments, wars in turn to systems that promised predictability. And MBTI offers exactly that sense of structure. It maybe tells you, like, if you know your type, you can pick the right career, you can pick the right partner, even the right path. Well, it feels empowering, but often this comfort is psychological rather than scientific. So when the future feels chaotic, people crave a framework that explains who they are. So someone might say, I am ENTP, I'm built to lead, or I'm INFP, I'm meant to create. Well, these labels feel settled in a world that isn't. Researchers also found that anxious individuals tend to retake MBTI tests repeatedly, hoping the results will reassure them that they haven't changed. So this is the illusion of control at work, mistaking a comforting pattern for real certainty. Real control doesn't come from personality levels. It more comes from the ability to adapt to what life brings to you. So enjoying MBTI is fine. It's not any problem, but actually 4 letters can't count in all the possibilities of a human being.
Wow! It seems that MBTI gives us a sense of control and security when we meet a variety of destabilizing factors. But why does the MBTI always make people feel that the result is highly consistent with their own characteristics?
When people search for patterns, they rarely say the world as it is. They say what they want to believe. And psychologists call this tendency confirmation bias. And it's one of the key forces that makes MBTI feel so convincing. Confirmation bias means we selectively notice information that supports our existing beliefs, and while ignoring anything that contradicts them. When studying MBTI tech and investment decision making, examined investors who relied on MBTI to get their stock decisions. It found that 87.6% allowed their MBTI tag to influence their investment behavior. For example, ENTGs, the people who say themselves as decisive leaders, tend to take bold risks. And INFPs, the people who trust their emotions more than numbers, more than data, often make an intuitive, emotionally guided investments. Both groups focus on information that confirm their self-image. We see the same pattern online. People enthusiastically agree with flattering MBTI description like ENFPs are warm, creative, and spontaneous. But when confronted with evidence that MBTI lacks scientific reliability, they scroll past immediately. We don't believe MBTI because it's accurate. We believe it because it reassures us that our self-image makes sense. Understanding confirmation bias doesn't require rejecting MBTI. It simply reminds us that true self-knowledge comes from curiosity, not comfort.
Yes, don't be the frog in the well, especially when you build the well yourself. Many people have noticed that if you search for the MBTI on social media at least once lately, you've probably seen how the MBTI seems to be everywhere. Is it our hallucination?
In the digital age, our beliefs aren't just shaped by what we think. They are more shaped by what we are shown. Algorithms quietly learn our references and uh, feed us more of the same, trapping us in self-reinforcing bubbles. The MBTI is a perfect case study of how echo chambers turn personality labels into identities. Researchers analyzing user data, watch time lapse and comment patterns, found that social media algorithms automatically place users into interest clusters. Once you interact with MBTI content, the system floods you feed with similar videos. For example, is YouTube and TikTok. Your digital world becomes a reflection on your own personality type. So if you identify as an INTG, your feed might be filled with like why INTGs are strategic geniuses and like how INTGs think differently. And if you identify as an ESFP, maybe you might say why ESFPs are the life of the party. Yeah. And the repetition slowly turns a simply personality level into a core identity. One analysis showed that over 80% of MBTI related interactions occur between users of the same personality type, creating tight clusters where ideas go unchallenged. In such echo chambers, any opposing viewpoint like MBTI is not scientifically valid, feels ignorant or even offensive. Echo chambers don't just shape what we believe, they shape who we listen to.
The echo chamber shows how social media shapes what we hear about MBTI. But it's not just the outside world that conveniences us. Our inner world has subconsciously built itself into an echo chamber, where every answer sounds exactly like us.
For decades, researchers have observed a striking human vulnerability. Give people a gentle, flattering description, and their whole experience was written just for them. So this is the Barnum effect, and among MBTI followers, it reveals a deeper emotional story. There's a recent story found that 83.7% of people who strongly identify with their MBTI type had significant negative experiences in childhood, including being bullied at school, growing up in a dismissive or harsh home environment, or even the living with domestic violence. These experiences create a deep longing to feel understood. So, when they later read MBTI description like, mm, just like you're a sensitive soul who values deep connection but needs a long time, it resonates powerfully, not because the statement is precise, but because it feels validating. And the descriptions are broad and flattering enough to fit almost anyone. Think of statements such as, you sometimes enjoy being around people, but you also need time to be alone to recharge. Almost everyone relates to that. Our minds ultimately pick out parts that match our memories. You remember the weekend you sit home journaling, and my team will say, yeah, I'm totally MTG. But actually, you forget the many times you enjoyed going out with friends. This is important thing. And this is a Barnum effect, projecting our personal stories onto vague description that feel uniquely accurate. MBTI's power doesn't lie in scientific precision. It lies in emotional validating, the feeling of maybe a feeling of finally someone understand me. And understanding this doesn't make MBTI meaningless.
So, it just means we should treat the MBTI as a mirror rather than a map, a starting point for reflection, not a final definition of who we are. In the end, the internet remains an endless black hole, a swirl of data and human analysis that easily pulls us off course. Learning to wake up from it is its own kind of lesson. There are no mirrors without blind spots, and certainly no enchanted ones to reveal our deepest selves. What we do have is the slow, imperfect work of accepting who we are, of affirming and caring for ourselves. So when someone clings tightly to their MBTI result, it doesn't mean they are foolish. It simply means they are still trying to understand themselves, just not yet on the real track. And maybe that's where the real journey begins.